I don't know why people are saying this is a new surveillance tech that they figured out to create a parallel narrative as to how they found him. Like, I'm inclined to believe the mainstream narrative on this. Like, I'm inclined to believe that, like, no, there was definitely like an old lady at McDonald's who was like, I think that's the killer.
We're going to begin, though, with this. We've got newly revealed evidence in the murder of the UnitedHealthCare CEO, Brian Thompson. Police say they are learning what his accused killer, that would be Luigi Mangione, knew before the day of the attack and what he allegedly did right after that terrible shooting. Lilia Luciano is following this story and has the latest.
Investigators say they have discovered evidence suggesting Luigi Mangione knew UnitedHealthCare was hosting its annual investor conference in New York City before the shooting. The NYPD tells CBS News there is no indication that Mangione was ever a client of UnitedHealthCare. Officials believe the company may have been targeted due to its status as the largest health insurer in the United States. Meanwhile, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has begun presenting evidence to a grand jury as they try to extradite.
Yeah, this was really funny because people were like, it doesn't mean that like UnitedHealthCare, he wasn't even a UHC client. And it's like, okay, sure. Would that have made it, would you be defending it if he was? Like, I don't understand. It's all these people that are like desperately trying to grab on to anything to be like, no, this guy is silly. This guy is stupid. This guy is wrong. This guy's insane. And you shouldn't feel like, you should feel angry that he did this. Okay? You should feel angry that he did this. You should feel resentful towards him and his actions and not, the way that UnitedHealthCare and many other for-profit healthcare industry leaders have destroyed your lives. Okay? Forget about that, please. And I think that like a lot of people are just trying to like finger wag. A lot of people in the media are trying to finger wag their way into like trying to reshape the public narrative. And I don't know if it's working or not. I'm sure it has some play for a lot of older people that get their notes from mainstream publications, or maybe some dumbasses who get their notes from like right-wing content creators in general. But having said that, you can't finger wag your way out of this. Like, people are very mad. Understandably, they're very mad.
Mangione from Pennsylvania to New York. The delay, a possible strategic move by his defense team.
Not waiving the extradition does buy them a little extra time. They now have to wait for Governor Hochul to issue that warrant, and it just gives them more time to prepare their defense.
All this while Mangione remains detained more than 200 miles away. Luigi Mangione is being held in this state prison in Huntington, Pennsylvania, under maximum security. Prison officials tell CBS News that he is in a cell by himself, but not in solitary confinement, that he does not get to interact with other inmates, and that he has not become violent. Also, the NYPD tells CBS News that during his time in detention here in Pennsylvania, he has not made any incriminating statements to investigators. After biking through Central Park and taking a cab to the George Washington Bridge bus terminal, authorities say Mangione didn't leave the city, but actually returned via subway down to Penn Station in Midtown Manhattan, just a mile away from the crime scene. Now investigators are looking into whether then he traveled by train to Pennsylvania.
New York.
I don't know why people are saying this is a new surveillance tech that they figured out to create a parallel narrative as to how they found him. Like, I'm inclined to believe the mainstream narrative on this. Like, I'm inclined to believe that, like, no, there was definitely like an old lady at McDonald's who was like, I think that's the killer. They do have mass surveillance. It's in every part of our lives. But having said that, you can see that it takes time for them to actively monitor a city with like 14 million people in it, or however many million people live in New York City. What is this, 7 or 14? Am I getting the number wrong? It's 8.2. Sorry, not 14. It's 8.2 million people in New York City at any given moment in Manhattan. Obviously, it's going to be difficult for investigators to, even with all of the mass amount of surveillance that exists, it's going to be difficult for people to figure out one singular individual wearing a mask and where they go. So I don't know. I don't know if this is like, a person being, I don't know if this is like your McDonald's self-checkout kiosk spying on you or whatever. Hasan is running D for the NYPD. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I don't know how true, but allegedly the CEO Peak Designs ratted Luigi out to the police by looking up the serial number in the backpack they found. I can see that. They are creating a parallel narrative for the NYPD data. You have not seen the tools NYPD Fusion has, however, not for the arrest. I think a lot of people overestimate the power that like artificial intelligence has, or maybe they overestimate the power that human beings have. Mass surveillance is here, and it has been here for quite some time. We exist under a surveillance state, but the surveillance state is still operated by human beings, and human beings are not machines. They're not robots. They're not going to be able to like immediately map out the trajectory of a shooter in a city with so many people in it. Now, not only that, but also artificial intelligence sucks, especially when it comes to, especially in instances where you need it to be correct. Okay. Artificial intelligence as it works currently, okay, or AI or machine learning or whatever you want to call it, as it works currently is only good at being the plausible deniability machine, okay? It's only good if it's not supposed to work. It's only good for Lavender AI's targeting capabilities. It's only good so you can just say, oh, we handed it off to a machine, and if the machine f***ed up, then oops, it is what it is. It's only good if it works. It's only good if it's supposed to be bad, if that makes sense. Just like UnitedHealthCare that utilized AI to process more denials over claims, like valid claims, at a significantly higher rate than human beings would. You're an expert? No. I don't think you guys understand. Like the current, everybody wants to feel like these super powerful machines are just, you know, they're better than human beings at like tracking, and they're more accurate, not realizing that the data input into it is oftentimes inaccurate, and that causes super basic hallucinations in like even something like ChatGPT. Like AI is amazing, but it's not as amazing as you think it is my point. That's it. And it will continue to get better unless it keeps working off of other garbage AI and they don't figure out a way to clean it of its imperfections. But yeah, I think human beings are still on top in this moment, for better or for worse. We are in a surveillance state. We are not in a Minority Report future. Exactly. That's it. Like the level of access that people have once they identify someone is expansive. It's vast. It's unimaginable to the normal human's mind. Okay? That much I agree with. But in instances where you're scouring through like terabytes and terabytes of data, and you have to pinpoint one person with accuracy, AI is not good enough to be able to do that correctly, at least for now. Especially if I think, you know, especially for now, like the failure rating. Bro, I agree with every single one of your takes except AI. You don't understand that it's exponentially growing and will supersede human intelligence most likely by 2029. I'm simply talking about where it's at currently, chatters. That's it. I think people think that like AI facial surveillance recognition technology is like so much better than the way people think it is, at least as it stands, at least for now. LLM, ChatGPT, etc. are inherently flawed and will never be able to reason. They can only imitate reasoning relatively convincingly. We will need a new model before we see anything like sci-fi level AI, genuine artificial intelligence, as opposed to a very good chatbot. I think big cores using AI to comb through thousands of resumes to hire people is akin to getting precogged. Getting my master's in data science and data policy, and you're not far off. Do you really think the US government isn't working on mass AI surveillance tech? You are unk-maxing. Did I say that? Did I say that the United States government is not working on this technology? Did I say that AI is not already here in terms of surveillance technology? How many times have I talked about this? What do you think he does? What do you think his like signature achievement is? What do you think Palantir does? They're working on it for sure. I never said they're not working on it. I'm simply stating that as it stands currently, it is nowhere near as good as you think it is. It's not capable, in my opinion, of scouring through like terabytes and terabytes of visual and audio data to accurately pinpoint in real time where a certain person is in the city. You still have to do old school investigative reporting, or you still have to do that classic like $50,000 reward for a human being that recognizes the shooter, please. Way out of your depth here, dog. Okay. And I'm not even saying that it's not going to get there. It will. And it's certainly faster at processing than human beings can. But I think that people who think that this is like Minority Report style, like boop, 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 they immediately tracked the shooter, they found him instantly, and they actually mapped out his movements, and now they're like secretly trying to hide that they have this capability by crafting a parallel narrative. I think that's not correct. You definitely aren't out of your depth. You're basically reflecting exactly what top scientists studying AI are saying. Yeah. Now, make no mistake, every day is the worst that AI ever will be. Okay? Today is the worst that AI will be. That is the case. It's only going to get better, and it's going to exponentially get better. I think that is the case for sure. You literally have to be listening to AI salesmen to think it's there already. But there are still issues. As far as I understand, there's issues with the data being processed. I've always maintained this position. And I think people that work with AI hype it up quite a bit for their own personal financial interests. Like they make it seem as though it's already there, it's done, is it going to kill the world? Like what's happening? When in fact, like, no, AI is used as currently to basically cast aside certain subsects of the labor force. That's it. That is the primary purpose of it. And if it's like output, it doesn't even matter, because these guys only care about their bottom line. It works only if it's not 100% accurate, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't work when it requires 100% accuracy. Pinpointing a person, pinpointing a needle in a fucking haystack requires basically 100% accuracy, and the AI is not there yet. That's it. But if it's something like, you know, an advanced chatbot, or if it's something like, if it's something that basically can be wrong, and the goal is for it to be wrong anyway, like the AI processing denials at a much faster clip than like human beings, then yeah, AI is great for that. That's what it works for. Anyway, let's continue.
Governor Kathy Hochul has said she expects to see an ironclad indictment soon and is adamant that Mangione, quote, return to face the consequences. Meanwhile, this morning, there's a new op-ed in the New York Times from the CEO of United Health Group, the parent company of UnitedHealthCare, titled, "The Healthcare System is Flawed, Let's Fix It." In it, he calls Brian Thompson a brilliant, kind man who is working to make healthcare better for everyone. He acknowledged the flaws in the healthcare system, but condemned the vitriol and threats against healthcare employees, saying, quote, while the healthcare system is not perfect, every corner of it is filled with people who try to do their best for those they serve.
I mean, one of the issues with the healthcare system is that the flaw may be at the very core of it. How can you have a profit-motivated system on top of something as necessary as people's healthcare?
And that's part of the op-ed, that it's he says no one person or no one designed this one system. It's a patchwork.
Yeah.
And so now it's time to fix it, while not, of course.
Yeah, it's fundamentally broken because profit should not exist. That's it. You cannot have inelastic demand and have profit at the same time. You can't be, you cannot have the profit motive in a sector that has inelastic demand. And by the way, this is not just for healthcare. This is also for housing as well, just so you understand. This is my attitude. I have to make this very clear. That's it. So the notion that it's like, oh, it's imperfect, but we're trying our very best is silly, okay? That's dumb. Not you. Sure, the system is broken, but if you want to be the CEO, you have to be willing to represent the corporation in every way. No, they do, and they get paid for it. They get paid to represent the corporation in every way. They get paid for those inhumane decisions that they sign off on. So no, I think it's ridiculous when people go, oh, what the f***? This is just a normal human being, just like you, just like me. Like, I have a lot of charity for the average person who's just simply trying to exist. I have a lot of charity for the average person that's working in this corporation, because like everyone is working in a ultimately given the way that capitalism works, every single person is contributing to this death machine. I work technically under an Amazon subsidiary. Okay, that's it. I am a contracted 1099 employee of one of the most brutal killing machines out there, Amazon. Okay, when virtually every single person is working for the brutal killing machine, then yeah, technically no one is. Okay. Having said that, however, and I have to repeat this position, like, I don't think adventurism is the solution here. Okay. I don't think that like a direct violence against CEOs is going to solve this problem. I don't think so at all. But I think it's important to examine where this frustration is coming from. What leads someone to take this act? Okay? The reason why I cover the story in the way that I do is because this act of adventurism, given how heightened the contradictions are, has created this gap, this messaging gap between what the media is saying, what people in positions of power are saying, and how the average person feels about it. Okay? So it can be a spark that develops, at least to a certain degree, some semblance of class consciousness in the minds of a lot of Americans. Okay? And even if it doesn't, they still have been able to recognize who the real victims are in this situation, who the real pain dealers are in this situation. It's not, you get paid blood money. I guarantee these dorks are the same dorks that want to invade Mexico to stop cartels. You got your own vultures feasting on Americans. You just legalized it. Yeah. People are saying this young guy's a trust fund baby and the CEO came from a working class family. Yes, because they're trying to desperately reshape the narrative. Okay. They're trying to desperately reshape the narrative in very meaningful ways. And I think they're still failing because you cannot get a person you cannot logic your way out of real human suffering. Okay. You cannot get a normal person, a Deborah or a Barbara or a Hank, living in middle America that has been f***ed over by a giant for-profit healthcare company to go, oh, let's be reasonable about this. Like, they just don't care. At most, this is a moment for them to feel, some semblance of, oh, you got what was coming for you. You can't finger wag and try to reason with them. Okay. You can't just be like, oh, you feel good about this? Well, you're a bad guy. When most of us don't pay for insurance because it's too expensive, it should be clear which side we're on. Dog, how can you honestly say that violence is not effective when we've seen more progress in the past week than we have since the Affordable Care Act? It's like how you say Israel has shown it only responds to violence. They've literally shown that, dude, I don't think you understand this, okay? Appalachian Soviet. First and foremost, okay? This act of violence may have, this act of violence in a vacuum would be completely meaningless, okay? It's actually the public response to this act of violence that, in my opinion, has created a lot of fear, at the very least in C-suite executives, in a variety of different sectors, okay? Do you get it? I'm not saying that it has not been impactful. I'm simply stating that you have to recognize where that impact is. Because if this had happened and every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every Barbara, Deborah, and Hank turned around and was like, this is gross violence, how dare you? There is no place for vigilantism in American society. This is a wonderful CEO. And that could have very well been the case because of the American predisposition towards crime and punishment. Americans are very one note on this. They go, crime, I see crime, death penalty. This is a very draconian culture. You must understand, I still was very shocked to see the groundswell of support for Luigi Mangione even before they knew who he was, even before they knew what he looked like. They saw a guy in broad daylight dome a healthcare CEO and everyone was like, I know exactly what happened there. They didn't know a single damn thing. They had no information whatsoever. And they immediately were like, I know what happened. How could people be so united? How could people understand exactly what was going on without any of the details whatsoever? It's because American healthcare is so expansive, so ruthless, so brutal. For-profit healthcare in general is so awful that it has caused a universal suffering. It has universalized the pain. Every American knows at least one person or has at least in some way, shape, or form experienced this pain. Whether it is a massive check that they have to pay in the aftermath of one of their most vulnerable moments, or something far worse than that, like an immediate family member dying. That's it. That is the reason why so many people, without knowing a single damn thing, recognize what the was going on here. I'm gonna show you something, okay? There was a TikTok that I saw of me from a couple days prior, okay, when I was in England. Let's talk about this. Claim denial rates by insurance companies. Look, this is crazy. Look, United Health Group. We are deeply saddened and shocked at the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthCare. Brian was a highly respected colleague and friend to all who work with him. We are working closely with the New York Police Department and ask for your patience and understanding during this difficult time. Our hearts go out to Brian's family and all who were close to him. 41,000 ha-has. Remember, this is happening. I'm covering this in real time as it had just happened. Only 2.2 thousand kind of sad crying faces. 42,000 ha-has. I'm sorry. Prior authorization is required for thoughts and prayers. 15,000 likes. Sending prior authorization, denied claims, collections, and prayers to his family. 16,000 likes. Was his trip to the ER really emergent? According to his own company, my husband's heart attack wasn't actually an emergency, and we were out $3K, full deductible. 5,000 likes. It's crazy what my first thought was, and then I look at the comments and realize I'm not alone in my thoughts. 1,000 likes. I just can't find the care. Maybe if they ask for pre-approval of my care, then after they care, from that same clip where I'm talking about, like, if they find him. There was another TikTok where basically I was saying, once this person is found, okay, if he's also attractive, and he has this like profound message, this is going to be devastating for a lot of CEOs. I said something along those lines, and I can't remember where that video is, but that was before we knew what the dude looked like. That was before we knew what his like actual motive was. We still don't fully know what his actual motive is. And look where we're at now. The reason why I'm remembering that is because I saw it and I thought I liked it and reposted it, but I guess I didn't. And it's, what do you call it? It's out there somewhere, but everybody was like, damn, this is so prophetic. It got deleted? No, I doubt it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's from my coverage. It's not, and this isn't for the self-glaze. The reason why I'm bringing this up, the reason why I brought it up is not to be like, look how far ahead of the future I can see or whatever. The reason why I'm saying that is because like, I'm not a particularly intelligent person. I don't have the gift of foresight, okay? I simply understood at that moment what everybody else understood, which is that this was a universal experience that people had. And even if they didn't know what he looked like, or even if they didn't know who this person was, they immediately were like, I have been there. I have felt that anger and that frustration. And you cannot write that out. You cannot turn around and simply finger wag away the way people feel, you know? Exactly. It doesn't take a weatherman to look outside and see the weather. Oh, you found it here.
Overnight, the shooter seen here about 20 minutes before the shooting.
They're looking for a male about 5 feet.
Oh, this is the one, yeah.
Cream color.
Yo, by the way, like, you know, don't get mad at me. I don't want to be like inappropriate here, but he looks kind of hot, dude. I cannot be the only person who immediately went, wow, clearly this guy has interesting style and also is kind of attractive, which is part of the reason why I thought if they catch him and he gets his message out and he's hot, it's going to be a far more consequential problem. They should let him go. Honestly, I'm not even joking when I say this. They should let him go, because if they catch him and they arrest him and then he gets to talk and says, this is why I did it, it's going to be a Shinzo Abe situation. It already has become a Shinzo Abe situation. And that's actually the truly interesting part about this story. Now, yep, pre-watch. That is from December 5th. Okay. December 5th, 2024. This is before they saw all the other photos. This is before his face reveal happened. That was as it was happening. Yeah, no, this is before the face reveal. For those of you who don't understand the Shinzo Abe comparison, okay, Shinzo Abe was assassinated. And once Japanese society understood what the motivations of the assassin were, they were like, oh, we agree with him. It was a real propaganda of the deed moment. This is even worse than that Shinzo Abe situation, specifically because it's even worse than the Shinzo Abe situation because maybe a lot of Japanese people didn't realize that there was this Korean cult that had placed its tentacles in Japanese society. But they found out afterwards. And when they did, they were like, I don't like this. But virtually every single American has been over by healthcare. Okay? In this circumstance, you didn't even need to know his motivations to recognize what it is. Because people have a direct experience with this. They have a direct experience being wronged. And it's more consequential than being wronged, like that Ben Shapiro commentator said, being wronged by your barista up your order. When you're wronged by your for-profit healthcare company, you're wronged in a really meaningful way. In the best possible outcome, you're still tasked with paying a massive medical bill. In the worst possible outcome, you have an immediate family member who dies. Okay? So all of these guys that turn around and try to tell people like you shouldn't feel some type of way about this, you're not going to be able to write articles that convince enough people, I think. The way people see it, maybe not directly, but indirectly, yeah, here's what happened, by the way. Japan's government asked the court to revoke the legal status of the Unification Church. So, like, they literally fulfilled the desires of the assassin in Japan. Anyway.